Elena stood at the airport arrivals gate, her hands trembling as she clutched a small suitcase that contained everything she owned. At 42 years old, she had sold her modest apartment in Moldova, said goodbye to her aging mother, and crossed an ocean on nothing but hope and a faded photograph. The man in that photograph, Robert, had seemed kind in his emails. He had promised her a new beginning, a chance at the life that had eluded her after years of working double shifts at a textile factory to support her family. She scanned the crowd, searching for his face, her heart pounding with equal parts excitement and terror. When a tall man with graying hair finally approached, holding a sign with her name, relief washed over her. But as he came closer, his expression shifted from neutral to disappointed, his eyes traveling over her face with unmistakable dissatisfaction. "You look older than your pictures," Robert said flatly, not even offering to take her suitcase. Elena's cheeks burned. She had sent recent photographs, honest ones, but she understood now that he had expected something different. Someone younger. The drive to his house was silent except for the hum of the engine. Elena stared out the window at the unfamiliar American landscape, wondering what terrible mistake she had made. When they arrived at a neat suburban home, Robert led her inside without ceremony and pointed to a small guest room. "You can stay here tonight," he said. "But this isn't going to work. You misrepresented yourself. I'll pay for your return flight tomorrow." Elena nodded, unable to speak past the lump in her throat. She closed the door, sat on the edge of the bed, and allowed herself to cry for the first time since leaving home. She had invested everything in this journey, not just money, but hope. The hope that maybe, despite her age and her weathered hands and the gray streaking through her dark hair, someone might see value in her. That hope now lay shattered at her feet. The next morning, Robert was already gone when she emerged from the room. A note on the kitchen counter said he had left for work, and that she should be ready to leave by evening. Elena made herself tea with shaking hands, wondering how she would face her mother, her friends, the neighbors who had wished her well. She had been so certain this was her destiny, her chance to escape the grinding poverty that had defined her entire existence. Unable to sit still in the empty house, Elena decided to take a walk. She needed air, needed to think. The neighborhood was peaceful, with wide streets lined with oak trees just beginning to show autumn colors. She walked without direction, her mind a storm of regret and shame, until she found herself in front of a small community center. Through the window she could see elderly people gathered inside, and without quite knowing why, she pushed open the door. A white-haired woman at the reception desk looked up with a warm smile. "Hello, dear. Can I help you?" Elena struggled to find words in her accented English. "I am sorry. I am just walking. I did not mean to disturb." The woman's smile only widened. "You're not disturbing anyone. We're just having our Tuesday lunch program. Are you hungry? There's plenty of food." Before Elena could protest, she found herself being gently guided into a bright dining hall where dozens of seniors sat at tables, eating and laughing. The woman, who introduced herself as Margaret, insisted Elena sit and brought her a plate of food. "You look like you could use a friend," Margaret said kindly, and something about her gentle tone broke through Elena's defenses. The whole story came tumbling out. The mail order arrangement, Robert's rejection, her humiliation, her uncertain future. Margaret listened without judgment, her hand resting on Elena's. When Elena finished, Margaret was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "My dear, any man who judges a woman's worth by her age isn't worthy of her time. You came here looking for love, but maybe you were looking in the wrong place." She gestured around the room. "Many of these people are alone. They need companionship, help, someone who cares. Would you consider staying in town for a while? We could use a volunteer. There's a room upstairs we use for visiting nurses. It's not much, but it's yours if you want it." Elena stared at her, unable to comprehend this unexpected kindness. "But I have no money." "I cannot pay." Margaret patted her hand. "Consider it an exchange. You help us, we help you. Sometimes the family we choose is better than the one we seek." That afternoon, instead of flying back to Moldova in shame, Elena moved into the small room above the community center. She threw herself into volunteering, helping serve meals, organizing activities, and sitting with lonely seniors who reminded her of her own mother. Her English improved daily. For the first time in years, she felt purposeful. The ache of rejection began to fade, replaced by something more substantial: self-respect. 2 months passed, Elena had almost stopped thinking about Robert and his cruel dismissal when a man named Thomas started attending the lunch program. He was 65, a retired carpenter whose wife had died 3 years earlier. He was quiet and thoughtful, always thanking Elena for his meals, always asking about her day. Unlike the other seniors who came for company, Thomas seemed to come for her. One afternoon, as Elena was wiping down tables, Thomas approached hesitantly. "Elena," he said, "would you take a walk with me? There's something I'd like to show you." Curious, she agreed. He led her to a nearby park where he stopped in front of a newly installed bench. "I made this," he said, running his hand over the smooth wood. "I've been making benches and donating them around town. It keeps my hands busy, keeps me from thinking too much about being alone." They sat together on the bench and Thomas began to talk. He told her about his late wife, about his children who lived far away, about the emptiness that had consumed him until he started coming to the center. "You remind me that there's still goodness in the world," he said softly. "The way you care for everyone here, the way you smile even when I can see sadness in your eyes, that takes real strength." Elena felt tears prick her eyes. "I am not strong. I came here to be chosen by a man who did not want me because I am too old. I am here because I had nowhere else to go." Thomas turned to face her fully. Then he was a fool. "Elena, age doesn't diminish a person's value. It enhances it. Every year you've lived, every hardship you've survived has made you who you are. And who you are is remarkable." Over the following weeks, Thomas and Elena grew closer. He taught her woodworking in his garage workshop. She cooked him traditional Moldovan meals. They talked for hours about their pasts, their regrets, their dreams. Thomas never made her feel inadequate or unwanted. Instead, he saw her, truly saw her in a way no one ever had. 6 months after Elena's arrival in America, Thomas proposed. Not with grand gestures or expensive rings, but with quiet sincerity on the bench he had made, under a sky streaked with sunset colors. "I know we're both older," he said. "I know we've both been hurt. But I also know that I love you, Elena. Not despite your age, but with full appreciation of the journey that brought you to me. Will you marry me?" Elena said yes through tears of joy. They married in a simple ceremony at the community center, surrounded by the seniors who had become their family. Margaret beamed from the front row. Even Elena's mother flew in from Moldova, astonished and delighted by the turn her daughter's life had taken. As Elena stood beside Thomas exchanging vows, she thought about Robert and his rejection. She felt no bitterness, only gratitude. His cruelty had pushed her toward something far better than she had imagined. She had not found the fairy tale she expected, but she had found something real, a partnership built on respect, understanding, and genuine affection. That night, as they danced slowly in the community center hall, Thomas whispered in her ear, "You were never too old. Elena, you were just too good for him." Elena smiled against his shoulder, finally believing it herself. Sometimes rejection is not an ending, but a redirection. Sometimes the love we're meant to find is waiting in the most unexpected places, ready to show us that we were always enough, always worthy, always deserving of someone who sees our true value. Elena had crossed an ocean to discover what she'd had all along, the capacity to be loved exactly as she was,